Alright, so me back again, and let me today solve machine matrix vulnerable machine that has been added recently, and it's one of the newest machines on the site. And I know it has been so long since I haven't solved any vulnerable machine. So today, let's refresh back and get all of our shit together. So first, this is the machine. When you power up the machine, it looks like this. We will be presented with the login screen. And here in the Kali box, I have my terminal, which will be fired up to begin the penetration process. So first thing first, we need to identify the IP address of the host or the target. All right. So we can use net discover for this. -I for the interface, and -R for the network range, which is, in case of mine, 94.0.24, and we hit enter, and we wait till all of the IP addresses on the same network are populated. So in my case, the machine IP address is this one over here. So what's the next step is grabbing the target IP address and then doing a network mapping or nmap to identify possible loopholes or to identify possible entries through the open ports and the associated services. So let's initiate nmap, SV for scanning the services, A for being aggressive, and we identify the target IP address. You don't want to use these kind of scans when you do a penetration testing in a corporate settings, unless you agree with the clients on these kind of scans, because these kind of scans might go in collision with some regular standards that is based, or that is, let's say, based on the location of the country you are doing the penetration testing. So be careful of that. Since we are doing a CTF challenge, so we can do whatever you want. You have the freedom for that. So let's enter and wait for the nmap scan to get us the fruits. So here, let's make up the screen a bit bigger, and let's see the scan, what would get us. All right, so a couple of open protocols, open ports, 22 for SSH. I have 80, and I have this open port, and both of them use the HTTP protocol. So my first step is going to my browser, which is here. And if I browse to the IP address of the target and put the port here, okay, let me try 80. If you write 80 here, you'll find like this landing page. And if you check this page source, you'll end up finding nothing. See here. So let's go back, and you need to browse the IP address with this port. So we click on view page source, and we see here, if you scroll down, you'll see a bit of base 64. So grab this base 64, copy, close the tab, open your terminal, and type echo the base 64 encoded string, pipe the command into base 64, decode to get the result. So the result is a string. Then you will see that it is not the spoon that bends, it's only yourself. And here it lists something like cipher matrix. Okay, so your next step is as a common sense to copy this. Okay, go to your browser and paste this after the port. You'll get some brain fuck your page, So you go ahead and grab this, copy, go to a website called Split Brain. I'm gonna put the link on the video description down after I finish. So you copy paste and click on text to brain fog. I know this is nonsense in a corporate settings or in a real scenario setting, but and we need to withstand this kind of setting in order to get the real benefit of this. So sorry, click brain to text. I think I need to reload the page. I have done this the other way around. Okay, brain fog to text. Alright, so here you get the actual encoded string, which is you can enter into matrix as guest. So here is a hint about the username with password killer XX. Note actually I forget. He's saying that the password is killer, but the last two characters are, obfuscated or overlooked for some reason. You need to find the last two characters. So you have here part of the password or most of the password characters. You need to find the last two characters. For that, you need to do brute force. So you need to grab the password and brute force the last two characters. And how to do that? Basically, you need to do dictionary attack, password dictionary attack. How you do that? Basically, you are not brute forcing SSH or not brute forcing FTP or some internet service. You are having some kind of password. You need to find the last two characters. In order to do that, you need to use word list generator tools, like for example Seal or like Crunch. Since you are not grabbing passwords or word lists or words from a website, we're not going to use Seal for this. We're going to use Crunch. Alright, so let's clear the screen and let's grab the password here. Copy. Okay, so I have this password, okay? I need to find the last two characters. Let's use Crunch to generate a couple of characters for us, and then from these couple of characters we're going to generate a word list. This word list will be used to brute force SSH access as hinted in the encoded brainfuck string. So let's type crunch, give this a space. So let me count the number of characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the password is 8 characters. So we need here to generate a password, okay, which is minimum of 8 characters and a maximum of 8 characters as well, because the password is no more than 8 characters. So here we write or type the minimum number of characters, which is 8, the maximum number of characters, which is 8, and here, in order for the crunch to generate us a relevant password or a relevant pattern that matches the pattern we are having here, we need to type the option minus or dash t. Dash t means you put after the dash t, you put the pattern, okay, for which crunch needs to generate a password or word list that looks similar or matches the profile or the pattern you are typing here. So we put our pattern here, killer, okay, and we're telling crunch to generate possibilities or characters for the last two characters. How can we do this? So basically, instead of XX, I'm gonna assume that the last two characters, okay, so let me open our string text editor here. The last two characters, XX, okay, or X, X, X. So it might be lowercase, okay, it might be uppercase, it might be number, it might be symbol, all right, and it is the same for the second X. So we have this here, copy paste. All right, so I have a number of possibilities to try. Okay, great. So for lowercase characters, we use the at ampersand. For uppercase, we use, I think we use the comma. For numbers, we use, what I remember, we use, I think, the this simple, and for no, we use, let me remember, for numbers, we use the percent here, and for symbols, we use this character. Okay, so here's the thing. For the first x, we need to put either ampersand, comma, etc. For the second x, we need to put one of those, okay, based on the hint. So let's go back and see the hint. So it says, actually, I forget last two characters. So I have replaced with XX, try your luck and find correct string of password. So based on the hint, let me assume that the last two characters, both of them are lowercase. Why? Because you see here the password is all of it lowercase. This is a hint. It might be the opposite, but let's base our work based on what we have. The password here is all of it lowercase characters. So let's assume that the two x over here are lowercase. So our first option is to use the at. Okay, and because we have number here 0 and 1, so I think we need to use the percent here. So based on the pattern of the password, we predict that the last two characters are number, okay, it should be number and lowercase characters. So let's try that. So we put here percent and we put symbol, and we direct the output to a password file. Let's say wordless to be on desktop, and pass1.txt. So let's wait for Grunt to generate the word list. All right, so let's explore the file without saving. So here's the word list, guys. So the next step is trying this word list, and as an obvious step against the SSH server. So Hydra, username is guest, password will be our word list or recently generated word list. Desktop pass1.txt, and the server is SSH. We specify the IP address. So let's wait. See if Hydra could crack the password. Okay. So let's close this, and the password is killer7n. So immediately, without waiting, SSH guest at the target IP, and let's grab the password, copy it, and we are in. Okay. Now your next step is to escalate your privilege to get root access. So before escalating your privilege, you need to enumerate the environment, get an idea about the system, and see what are the possible loopholes or what are the possible weaknesses in the system. So let's try to figure out. So the current directory is guest, list the files, and we get some kind of error that the command we just entered is restricted by limited shell, which is our bash. Now we are into something else, which is escaping limited shells. In order to understand the concept of escaping and bypassing limited shells, I'm going to refer you. Wait. So this guy here. So I have this sheet, okay, or tutorial about escaping restricted Linux shell. So here, the article explores several techniques to escape and bypass the restricted shell. Among them is using or enumerating for text editors. So here, if you can see that it says you can use the current text editors here. Among them are Nano, VIM, VI, and try to execute command shell from within the text editor. So you see here they used the VIM, okay, and they entered some kind of shell here. So this bin bash has summoned or invoked a shell and let the pen tester escape the limited shell he was inside, or he was locked inside. So let's try to do the same. So VIM, okay, VIM not here. Nano, VI, okay, so you have VI over here. So let's try to, as we said, execute a command shell or invoke a shell, bash shell from within the VM or the VI text editor. We do that by typing semicolon, or it's not semicolon, okay, and we type the shell bin bash. Then you hit enter. Okay, no need to enter the insert mode, no need to bother with the commands or the instructions for using the VI text editor. Just type this, hit enter, and type the command that you previously typed and were restricted. Type it again and see if the restriction has been removed. So enter. So as you can see, the ls command has been previously restricted. Now the restriction has been removed or bypassed. So now we can try a couple of other commands. So cd home trinity, trinity. Let's try to call it desktop. Okay, let's try to create our privilege. It says su bash command not found. So it seems that the bash or the su command is not recognizable in the system, and that would be traced back. Well, that would be attributed to the fact that we need to investigate the environment variables. So let's see what are the environment variables we have. So actually we have only one environment variable, which is home guest proc. So let's navigate to that, see what we have there. As you can see in this environment variable, okay, we can only execute the vi command, which is the only recognizable command in this environment variable. That's why we could not be able to issue su command. So what we're going to do here, we're going to create an environment variables that would include the commands necessary to elevate our privilege. So let's export path equal. So the first one is bin path, so path here. The second one would be path equal user bin, and the third one would be for the shell, bin dash let's say sh. Well, let's echo the environment variables now. So not found. Okay, export. I think there is something wrong. Let's try shell. Bin bash bin. Let me try to put bin the first. Path equal user bin bash. So what's the problem here? So we have wizard bin bash, and bin. Let me try to make bin the first environment variable by issuing bin. Yes, it worked. So here it asks for the password. Authentication failure. So let me see now the environment variable. Now bin user bin bash. That's the correct one. Okay. So now let's try to write sudo su. See the sudo words, and let's write the same password we had before. I'm worried that the password is what was the password? So I remember here. Yes, 7n. So 7. Let me copy the password and paste. Type 7n. I don't wish to know that. Great. Okay. So now we have root access. ID root. So you see that the challenge is quite easy. It doesn't require advanced exploitation skills, and it doesn't need you to know so much about the advanced techniques of pen testing. You just need to know a couple of techniques for enumeration, brute force, and the last thing about this challenge is the limited shell escape. I'm gonna put down the link of the article that talks about and explores the shell restriction techniques. I think it's the only um, matter, or it's the only topic, or it's the only idea here in this challenge that would worth doing a challenge. Anyway, I like the challenge, and I hope you guys found it useful. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video, hopefully.